In October 1962, the world stood on the precipice of nuclear war. For 13 long days and nights, the United States and the Soviet Union confronted each other in a tense standoff. At the heart of the crisis were Soviet nuclear missiles placed in Cuba, just 90 miles off the coast of Florida. The Cuban Missile Crisis, as it came to be known, remains the closest the world has ever come to nuclear annihilation. This essay will explore the events of those harrowing 13 days, examining the key decisions and actions of the United States, the Soviet Union, and Cuba. We will delve into the background of the crisis, the discovery of the missiles, and the responses of the major players. Finally, we will analyze the lasting impact of the crisis on US-Soviet relations and the world at large. The crisis serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace in the nuclear age. It underscores the devastating consequences of miscalculation and the importance of clear communication and diplomacy in diffusing international tensions. By understanding the events of October 1962, we gain invaluable insights into the dynamics of the Cold War and the enduring need to prevent such a crisis from ever happening again. The world watched and waited, holding its breath as two superpowers edged closer to the brink. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, a chilling testament to the perils of the nuclear age. To understand the Cuban Missile Crisis, we must first revisit the Bay of Pigs invasion of April 1961. This failed attempt by the United States to overthrow Fidel Castro's communist regime in Cuba played a crucial role in setting the stage for the events of October 1962. The invasion, planned and authorized by President Eisenhower but carried out under President Kennedy, involved a force of Cuban exiles trained and funded by the CIA. The objective was to spark a popular uprising against Castro, leading to his overthrow and the establishment of a pro-American government in Cuba. However, the invasion proved to be a disaster. The exile force was poorly trained and equipped, and the expected popular uprising never materialized. Castro's forces, backed by Soviet military aid, quickly defeated the invaders, capturing over 1,000 exiles and killing many more. The Bay of Pigs was a major embarrassment for the Kennedy administration, damaging U.S. prestige internationally and strengthening Castro's grip on power. Moreover, the failed invasion pushed Castro closer to the Soviet Union. Fearing another U.S.-backed attempt to remove him from power, Castro welcomed Soviet military assistance. This set the stage for Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev's fateful decision to deploy nuclear missiles to Cuba in the spring of 1962. Khrushchev saw the missiles as a way to deter another U.S. invasion of Cuba and to bolster the Soviet Union's strategic position in the Cold War. The Bay of Pigs, therefore, cast a long shadow over the events of 1962. It created the conditions for a major confrontation between the superpowers and highlighted the volatile mix of ideology, geopolitics, and miscalculation that characterized the Cold War. In the aftermath of the Bay of Pigs, Nikita Khrushchev saw an opportunity to bolster the Soviet Union's strategic position. He believed that placing nuclear missiles in Cuba would serve several purposes. First, it would deter another U.S. invasion of Cuba, which he knew was still a possibility despite the Bay of Pigs fiasco. Second, it would counter the perceived U.S. nuclear superiority by placing Soviet missiles within striking distance of the American mainland. Finally, Khrushchev hoped to use the missiles as leverage in negotiations with the United States over other Cold War issues, such as the status of Berlin. In the spring of 1962, Khrushchev initiated Operation Anadir, a top-secret plan to deploy nuclear missiles to Cuba. Soviet technicians and military personnel, along with missile components, began arriving on the island under the cover of night. The operation was shrouded in secrecy, with even many high-ranking Soviet officials kept in the dark. Khrushchev believed that the United States, preoccupied with the upcoming congressional elections, would not react strongly to the deployment of the missiles. He underestimated the resolve of President Kennedy and the American people. The stage was set for a dangerous confrontation, one that would bring the world to the brink of nuclear war. On October 14, 1962, a U.S. U-2 spy plane piloted by Major Richard Heiser flew over Cuba on a routine reconnaissance mission. As the plane soared over the island, its cameras captured images that would send shockwaves through the U.S. government and trigger the most dangerous crisis of the Cold War. The photographs, analyzed by experts at the CIA, revealed the unmistakable presence of Soviet nuclear missile sites under construction in Cuba. The discovery of the missiles sent a jolt through the Kennedy administration. President Kennedy, informed of the situation on the morning of October 16, convened a special group of advisors, later known as the Executive Committee of the National Security Council, EXCOM, to discuss the crisis and formulate a response. The situation was dire. Soviet nuclear missiles capable of reaching major American cities in minutes were being installed just 90 miles from U.S. soil. The discovery of the missiles sparked a wave of fear and anger across the United States. The memories of the Second World War and the looming threat of nuclear annihilation were still fresh in the minds of many Americans. The nation and the world held its breath, waiting to see how President Kennedy would respond to this unprecedented challenge.